So I am here at a surf shop called Trigger Brothers because I'm buying a second-hand board that was online. I just thought I was coming to pick a board up at someone's house, but instead the address given was this surf shop, and I've met here Phil. That's Phil and his son Matt, and they're the owners of the business. And now I'm told that they used to make a lot of windsurfers, so I thought, oh, I better throw this in this video since I'm on this theme of, you know, documenting history. So what's the story here, mate, with the windsurfing?
Well, we got into it very early. Ted Bainbridge, the guy that we used to be in partnership with Peninsula Surf Centre, he brought one back from Hawaii, I think, or freighted one across or something. He got into it, and then he said, oh, you guys should be able to make one of these. So we got a blank off midget, and somehow we made this massive board, and he wanted a real rough surface on it. So I thought, oh, they put sand on boats and stuff. Yeah, I should be able to get something like that. So I tried all these surfaces, and he did say he wanted it really coarse. So I put brown sugar on it after a few experiments with other things. Brown sugar was super rough. Tried the board out, rang me the next day. He said, Phil, you've ripped me to bits. All his shins and feet, everything was just blood raw because it was too rough. So we ended up we went right down to salt. But what happened when we put all the boards in the shop in Chelsea, all the boards cried. They picked up all the moisture out of the air, and just all the boards ran. So we got onto caster sugar, and Bundaberg caster sugar is the best stuff ever. I'm still using it now on my own surfboards. So instead of having wax, I have Vitadeck grip, and then I put lines of sugar deck on the board. So yeah, we got into it really early. We were doing probably about 8 a week, weren't we, Maddie? Yeah, that would be one of Ted's really early boards there. It's got the original windsurfer mast base, and then later on we put the socket one in, that was the advanced model.
Yeah, right, this is the latest tech.
And as you see, we've moved it backwards and forwards, and the straps just went straight in. Yeah, we resined them in.
Look at that. Look at these straps.
It was funny because we got Arthur Brett, who was a sailmaker at Frankston, to do the straps for us, and he got into it as well. And that's one of his slalom boards that we made for him. We made about 3 of those when he was surfing for.
Sorry, which board are you pointing at?
This great big.
Oh, the longboard.
Yeah.
You call that a slalom board?
It's a Pan Am, was it? Yeah. So we made 2 or 3 of those. One was out of epoxy and carbon fibre and all sorts of stuff, but that one's just standard. But he went on to be world champion. Yeah. He won a world championship in slalom racing.
Yeah, right.
He won. Then he got on back into sailing, and he won 3 world titles in sailing as well. So he was an unbelievable sailor, but he didn't go that well in the surf. He had no idea about riding waves, which is what we were all into. But racing, he was incredible. Yeah. So we probably did 8 a week once we got into it.
So what years are we like? Is it early 80s or something?
Yeah, when it all first started, it must have been 80s, mid 80s to the 90s.
Oh.
Matthew got right into it, and we went down to Sandy Point and they had a speed sailing thing down there. That's one of Peter Jasper's boards. He was one of the top. He could go upside down on anything, just unbelievable. And I think you saw that picture inside of him with the one that his girlfriend took, where he's hanging upside down in front of Robbie Nash and Bruno, Mitchell Merrily, all the best sailors in the world. His girlfriend's taken that picture at the time.
Yeah.
He ended up marrying her, probably because she did take the good picture. But
and the speedboard, you did it all.
Yeah, no, we were there. So I was going to say I went down to Sandy Point because Matt was down there, and I thought, I'll go down and see how he's going. And I got down there. There must have been 50, 60 guys down there, and they had all their boards rigged up. And they had a meeting, like probably 15-minute meeting. When they went back, the wind and the moisture and the sand had covered all the sails, and nobody knew whose board was which. It was just incredible, wasn't it?
It was crazy. It was windy.
Yeah.
15 or 16, I reckon.
Yeah.
No, you were older than that.
I didn't have a licence.
Didn't you? I drove you down. Oh, okay.
No, I got a lift down there and you came and picked me up.
Yeah. But the guys were sailing over the sand like 100 miles an hour. It looks fantastic.
No, it's a cool spot. I sailed there once. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. At the peak, there probably maybe 30 out here at the point.
Yeah.
But we'd just sail until we drop.
How long's the shop been going for?
We started making boards in '68. So that was a while ago. This shop here we built in 77, I think.
Oh, 77. That's when I was born.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it was a while ago. But,
Wow.
Yeah, this picture down here, everything's a bit dusty because we're still making surfboards out the front, as you can probably smell. But that picture there, oh, yeah, that's Robbie Nash.
Yeah.
I think that's Midget Farrelly.
Oh, okay.
Peter Gabrina. Just all the best sailors in the world were there.
It's Point Danger.
No, it's Bell's. It's at Bell's, yeah.
Oh, this is Bell's?
This is Bell's, yeah. And it was, Rip Curl got all the top sailors in the world to come out and do this first big professional contest, because they did Easter Bells, obviously. And Pete's girlfriend's taken this picture. He ended up marrying her because obviously she was pretty good at doing things.
That's amazing. That's like, I don't see any photos from Bell's windsurfing.
If anybody could identify those sails, I'm pretty sure, definitely Midget Farrelly, Peter Gabrina.
Just the light, I just tilted a bit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Robbie Nash is easy to pick, isn't it?
Yeah, he's easy to pick, exactly.
Oh, that's a decent air, like.
Yeah.
He's
but
like,
he'd do that.
Like a tabletop.
He would do that. He would do that on anything, wouldn't he,
That's
Matt? Like
good.
he'd hit a bit of chop and he'd just go upside down. He was
that is-
absolutely amazing. He was the best flat top jumper around, yeah. But that, we sort of gave up, or I don't know what happened, but just when everybody started doing all those loopy things. But Johnny Jacobs and there are a couple other guys, Rob Lousby, they're all real good sailors, yeah, and real good surf sailors, yeah. So there's two or three guys that we sponsored. We had the best team around for sure.
That's such a cool.
Because we got into it so early, yeah.
Can you talk about this local area for a wave sailing destination? Because you've got this.
Yeah, no, the map here it's absolutely perfect, shows it all. But most of the guys come down, they're not experienced enough in the surf. They haven't got the surf knowledge. So a lot of them sail away from the surf. There's only 2 or 3 guys out of that 10 or 15 now that turn up, Johnny Jacobs and Maddie and a couple others. But most of them sail out too wide. They don't come right across inside the break. And you can see the size of the swell here. Like it gets pretty big surf.
Oh yeah, it is actually big.
And you can see a little person out there. It's triple overhead, that swell.
So which breaks that one?
That's Suicide.
On this map here, though?
So it's right out here. It's in behind these rocks here. They called it Suicide because it was crazy. The clubbies used to surf it in the 60s and no leg ropes or anything on their board. So if you lost your board in low tide, it was sort of suicide for the board. That's why they called it Suicide. Just all rocks and not just flat rocks either. They're great big rocks that just eat your board. Yeah.
And just for everybody watching this is where we are right now.
This picture's taken in 1985, I think. Yeah. So.
And that's a good that's a potential good wave sailing spot right there, right?
Yeah, that's where we used to sail heaps. Yeah.
And anywhere else on here?
Well, back the Flinders, Matt sails out the back at the big left, which is one of these ones here, just in there. Big left is there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's back straight out there. So it's much more open to the wind, and that's a really good spot to sail, isn't it, Matty?
Yeah, they hold a big swell around there too, those spots. Sunset and big left.
Yeah.
Matt, you still windsurf?
Yep.
And you're still pretty keen by the looks of it, right?
Well, yeah.
But you don't, because you wore yourself out.
I'm very tempted to have another go that I've had my hip replaced. Towards the end, I used to just turn up and Matt would be sailing for a couple of hours and I'd turn up and just grab his harness and go out for a quick sail. But I told my wife we were going, and we do lots of dumb things, especially when you sail. We decided to go to Flinders, and we started off here, and we had real small boards that sank, like sinkers, and we get halfway down, or we almost got there, didn't we, to Flinders Pier, and the wind dropped out. So we're struggling back, trying to pump back, and we get about a quarter of the way back. We've got 3/4 to go. Anyway, I've decided to bail, so I've gone up to this property, like they're all on great big acreages things. I've gone up to this fence, I put my arms on it, and it's electrified. So I just get absolutely whacked off the fence. We left at 11 o'clock. We were just going for a quick sail before lunch. We ended up having to walk about 2 kilometres across the highway, back up the paddocks, and I've gone up this real estate agent's place. I didn't even know it was his, and I knocked on the door. He turns up and he says, "Oh, Phil, what are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I don't need help." So I rang my wife and we got picked up. But she said she wouldn't have come if I had been at Phillip Island, but because it was on our coast, it was okay. But another little story I got for you. We decided to have a race between here. I said that I reckon I could beat a car travelling from here, from the point, leaving at the point at the same time, to Flinders Pier. So which is about, it's about, what, 10 k's, I think. It's, Flinders Pier is just in here, right? So it's this distance from here to here. So I waited for an easterly, like about 20 knots straight on shore. It was probably a bit stronger. Anyway, so I've got this board, it might even be out there, it's only like 20 something inches wide. It's super narrow, only 7'2". Yeah, just totally ridiculous board for most of the time, but it went really fast, so I thought I could beat him. Anyway, I've only just found out recently, it took me, I think, 15 minutes to get there. He took 12 and a half. And like 30 years later, 20 years later, I've just found out that he went over 100 kilometres an hour. He cheated.
Oh, yeah. He broke the speed limit.
So he beat me, but I'm thinking I should have a rerun on it.
Yeah. And maybe with modern gear, it'll be even a bit faster.
It was the same. We went to Phillip Island. We decided to sail for Phillip Island, and Matty actually left at the same time as me, and I was just a little bit ahead of him, and I've looked back and I thought, oh, Matt's wimped it, you know. And anyway, I've gone across to Flynn's Reef, which is, you know, like, I don't know, 15 k's across or something. I've landed on the beach, I stepped on the beach there, and sailed back, and I've got back, and Matt said, oh, I got in a real lot of trouble, I hit a seal.
Oh, yeah. You sure it was a seal?
The seal, the fin just almost cut, sliced it, you know.
Yeah.
So then he got covered in blood, swimming back to his thing. He got back on his board and sailed back to the beach. Everybody thought he'd had a really bad accident, but it was the seal. So I think Matt went a few years later with a school teacher, Adrian Whale, and he was really into sailboarding as well. But he was one of these guys that were flat water sailors, not sort of in the bay or in the ocean sort of thing. Anyway, they went on a big swell day, and like it was massive waves up in the Bombay, and had to race a ship and everything, like went in front of the ship instead of behind it sort of thing. And when he got back to the beach after his great adventure with sailing with Matt, he said he'd never go with sailing with him again. Too dangerous, too scary, yeah. So
I hope that'd be cool if you get back into it, even if you get like a just like a longboard thing, like you can get this, you know, just something pretty cruisy, you know, only 5-10 knots, you can just cruise around.
I've got to tell you one other thing. I'm just thinking about history here. But they had an event. This is in the real early days when we first started to get into it. They had an event up at Moorabbin, I think, or Mentone. It was Mentone to Mount Martha, right? Okay. They were sailing down the bay. The wind was westerly. We didn't have harnesses, before harnesses, that's how early it was, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've all left, 200 people turn up on all sorts of equipment.
So this is like, what, early, mid-80s?
Early 80s, yeah. Arthur Brett's in the race, so I sort of figure I'll follow him. We go right down the middle of the bay, and you get out in the middle of the bay, you can't see where you're going. You can just identify the mountains like Arthur's Seat, which is one of the, you know, the biggest prominent landmarks down there. So we're sort of all sailing to Arthur's Seat, and we get down there, and like it's just my arms, it was just all the one way, so you just hold I couldn't put my arms down when I stopped to come back to the beach. Arthur won it. I probably ended up out 8th. Danny Bainbridge, who was the brother of the guy that we used to be in partnership with, he missed Arthur's Seat and ended up about 15 k's down the road. When we got home, on the news, there was mass rescues at Port Phillip Bay. 200 sailboarders missing and all this sort of stuff. But what had happened, people had gone into this race and they hardly sailed at all, and they said, oh, we'll go for a bit of a cruise, you know. So halfway, or you know, maybe in a third the way, they just pull into where they lived. So they just pull out of the race. There was no registration or anything, so nobody had it, and there was only one rescue boat. And as I said, it was on the news. The people that organised got in a real lot of trouble, and anyway.
They were the Wild West days, though, weren't they?
Well, as I say, that was before harnesses, and it was just
worn out.
We sailed real big boards, just like the board out there you saw,
It can get windy out there in that bay.
Oh no, it was like it would have been 20 knots easily. It wasn't a light wind. I think my wife left Mentone And I got to the beach at the same time she did, and she drove down. It was on a Sunday, like there would have been a bit of traffic. We're going direct, and like we were going 100 miles an hour across the water, yeah. So,
But even though you're not windsurfing much these days, you still obviously has held a lot of good memories for you anyway.
oh look, I'd love to watch people sail too. It's just fantastic. It's such a good thing to do. It's just going across the water, and like we used to come into the bay here 100 miles an hour and just throw your sail away, do those duck dives where you just turn around and just not lose any speed and just glide back out.
Yeah.
It's such a good thing to do. There's no noise other than your board on the water. It's just such a quiet, peaceful thing to do. And it's funny, I had a guy bring back a board just last week, and one of his foot strap plugs that had pulled out. He hadn't sailed it for 10 years because he got married maybe even longer and had kids and everything, and he just got it out, sailed it 2 or 3 times, and one of the plugs pulled out. Anyway, he brought it back in, and I rang him up and said, "Oh, easy to fix, yeah." I said, "I'll do it under warranty." And he said, "Oh, you're kidding." I said, No. We can do that easy because it's just a bit of fun for us. But just to see somebody get back into it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's such good fun. You talked me into having another go.
Oh, yeah.
I've been real close for a long time, and I've just got to line Maddie up and get my harness out and everything else.
You've got to invest in some of the modern gear as well, because if you pull out the old stuff from the shed, it's hard work. It's like but anyway. Matt can help you out. He's probably
got all that stuff for sure.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, it's great to meet you anyway, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's been awesome meeting you and seeing the shop. I just wouldn't have been in this part of the world if it wasn't for coming to buy this board. So, super cool. And thanks to you as well, Matt.
No worries at all.
Catch you later.
Yeah, okay.